How's it going, guys? I'm an avid herpetologist coming at you with our very first deck profile for the EX4 format of the Digimon TCG. If you're like me, you've been very excited for this set to come out for a little while. There are plenty of fun new things to be trying out in this new set, and I've got quite a few brews that I've been working on. Today we're going to be going over one of the ones I have been most excited for, and that is going to be Megidramon or ChaosGallantmon. Now this is going to be a different take on the traditional Gallantmon archetype. Gallantmon, much like many of the main character archetypes in the Digimon TCG, has become very bloated with support. However, with the introduction of the new ChaosGallantmon in EX4, we finally have reason to revisit Megidramon from the EX2 set, which we got a couple of sets ago. Now, Megidramon is a very cool card, but there hasn't ever really been a whole lot of incentive to be playing him over traditional Gallantmon support. So now that we have ChaosGallantmon to perfectly support what that Megidramon is trying to do, we're going to give Megidramon his own chance in the spotlight. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into the profile. Alright, now as always, we're going to be starting out with our eggs. I am opting to play a total of 4 in my particular list. You can absolutely play a 5th if you'd like. Gallantmon does have quite a few completely reasonable eggs available to it at this point, but for me personally, we are going to be playing 4 copies of Digimon from BT12. Now the inheritable on this Digimon basically just lets you add 1000 DP to the maximum DP you are able to choose for any of your DP based deletion effects. Now this deck is packing quite a few of those, especially on our top end, and being able to add just a few extra DP just to make sure that we can get over potentially dangerous boss monsters is going to be ideal. So 4 copies of Digimon is what I have opted for. Now we're going to go ahead and move on into our rookies. Of course, we are going to be playing 4 copies of the most important rookie in the deck, and that is 4 copies of Gallantmon from BT2. Now this Gallantmon, when it enters play, lets you check the top 4 cards of your deck, and add any card with Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name, and of course a Tocado from among them to your hand. The rest go to the bottom. It also has an inheritable when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon has Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name, delete one of your opponent's Digimon 3000 DP or less. Now, as I mentioned, we are stacking plenty of effects that are going to allow us to increase the maximum DP we are able to delete. Should be pretty easy for this effect to start deleting Digimon that have 5000, 6000 DP, which is pretty cool. Next up in our rookie slot, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Gallantmon from EX3. This Gallantmon is 4 to play, has 3000 DP. On deletion, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. If no Digimon is deleted by this, trash 2 cards from both players' decks. Now this Gallantmon is very much supporting the overall game plan for Megidramon and ChaosGallantmon, which is going to be filling both players' trash to gain a whole bunch of beneficial effects. So this is either going to be very easy deletion to access, where you can throw it into your opponent's security, let it die, and either delete something, or just simply trash 2 cards, ultimately adding 4 cards to both players' trash in total. So pretty good card. We'll get into some of the effects that benefits as we go on. We are going to be playing 2 copies of the brand new Gallantmon from EX4. Now this Gallantmon has an on-play where if the total number of cards in both players' trash is 20 or more, it gains Rush. This Gallantmon is going to be a nice, cheap way for us to be able to close games out. There are several effects in the deck that let you play out Gallantmon from your trash, so having one little rusher here so we can kind of close games out when we need to is going to be very nice. And finally, in our rookie slots, we are going to be playing 4 copies of Gallantmon X Antibody. Now this Gallantmon has an on-Digivolve effect to delete one of your opponent's Digimon 3000 DP or less, and also has that inheritable, once again, where you can increase the maximum DP chosen by deletion effects by 1000. So immediately starts to stack with our eggs, where if we have both of these in our initial stack, that's already a bonus 2000 DP we can choose. Those numbers do start to add up very quickly. To start with our benefits from deleting opponent's Digimon, we are still, of course, going to be playing 4 copies of Growlmon from Structure Deck Gallantmon. This Growlmon is incredibly cost efficient, being 4 to play and 2 to Digivolve, 5000 DP, with one of the best inheritables in the deck. Once per turn, whenever an opponent's Digimon is deleted on your turn, gain 1 memory. This helps us to get some very explosive plays. This deck does have a surprising amount of memory swing, so 4 copies of this Growlmon is definitely going to be worth playing. We're also going to be playing 4 copies of the brand new Black Growlmon from EX4. Now this Growlmon is an absolutely phenomenal trash setup piece as well as a consistency piece. When digivolving, you trash the top 2 cards of both players' decks. Once again, adding cards to both players' trash as we continue to climb our ladder where we can find more beneficial effects. And then after trashing 2 cards from both players' decks, you can also return any card with Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name from your trash to your hand. So if you trash any vital pieces, not to worry, you'll be able to add whatever you'd like back. This is great for early game, it's great for mid game, it's great for late game. It also has the inheritable, where on deletion, you get that exact same effect, where you can not trash 2 cards, but you'll still be able to add any Growlmon or Gallantmon name from your trash back to your hand again. So it basically just makes sure that you can keep your resources flowing, and also lets us kind of be a little more forgiving with some of the ratios that we're playing. And wrapping up our champion slot, we are playing 4 copies of Growlmon X Antibody. Now, I was toying between this and some of the other Growlmon options. Obviously, the only Growlmon it can digivolve onto is our starter deck option. However, there's absolutely nothing wrong with digivolving Growlmon X onto any of our Guilmons. It's still going to only cost us 2, which is totally fine. But most importantly, it again carries that inheritable to add 1,000 to our DP-based deletion effects. So I'm playing this just to opt for a little bit more consistency in that regard. But yeah, 4 copies of Growlmon X Antibody is going to round out our champion slots. Moving up into our ultimate position, we are going to be playing 4 copies of War Growlmon from EX3. This War Growlmon has a when digivolving effect to trash the top 3 cards of both players' decks. Then if a player has 5 or more cards in their respective trash, you may also play 1 Guilmon or Tocado from your hand or trash without paying its memory cost. So this is going to let us play out any of our 8 specific Guilmon names. Again, make sure we mention it does not play Guilmon X Antibody, but any of our other names are fair game. This is going to be one of our abilities to play out our Rush Guilmon, which again can help us close games, which is pretty good. So that'll be an extra attack when we need it. And the other card we're going to be playing in our level 5 slot is 3 copies of Black War Growlmon from, again, the new EX4 set. This Black Growlmon has a lengthy effect. When digivolving, trash the top 3 cards of both players' decks, then choose any number of your opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 3,000 or less, and delete them. For every 10 cards in both players' trash, you may add 2,000 to the maximum DP able to be chosen by this effect. So in the early game, this is going to help you clear a lot of the smaller bodies. Once we get towards the mid and late game, when you're able to load your opponent's trash up a bit more, those numbers start to add up, and you can start hitting bigger and bigger bodies. This is, of course, going to be benefiting from all of our additional DP gains for that deletion effect, so very powerful there. And I kind of like that you're able to split it between multiple targets. That's going to be super convenient as well. Makes it much more flexible as a removal option. And now as we move up into our level 6 slots, we are, of course, playing 4 copies of Megidramon from EX2. Now, this Megidramon, as I mentioned, has been out for a little while, but hasn't had a whole lot of incentive. We haven't had a lot of ways to abuse its effects up until now. This Megidramon has an effect to make sure that its name is always also treated as ChaosGallantmon, which is great because it lets you benefit from all of the other effects that are looking for specifically Gallantmons or Growlmon. And it also has a when digivolving effect to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 10,000 DP or less. Now, if no Digimon is deleted by this effect, you would then trash the top 5 cards of both players' decks. So this is going to add an additional, again, 10 cards to the collective trash pile, 5 for each player, or it can just simply delete a very tall body. Now, Megidramon also has an on-deletion effect to play a Guilmon and a Tocado from your hand or trash without paying their memory cost. Now, that effect is really what gives Megidramon the ability to stand out a bit over its competition. But again, we haven't really had a whole lot of ways to abuse that on-deletion effect until now. Now we have some good incentive in the form of the brand new ChaosGallantmon from EX4. Now, this ChaosGallantmon is a very unique card. It's 12 to play, 12,000 DP. It has a trash effect, where at the end of your turn, you can delete a Digimon with Gallantmon in its name, as long as it has Digivolution sources, in order to play this ChaosGallantmon from your trash without paying its cost. It also has an on-play effect to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 7,000 DP or less, and then for every 10 cards in both players' trash, add 2,000 DP to the amount able to be chosen by this effect. So basically, after you have gone into your Megidramon, ideally being able to blitz if you've got Tocado in play, then you've already potentially deleted something, you've blitzed in for damage. At the end of your turn, before your turn passes, you can then delete your Megidramon, play out your ChaosGallantmon. That ChaosGallantmon will then be able to potentially delete something additional, as well as potentially triggering your Megidramons on deletion effects. So basically, it's just an extra follow-up play. Now, this is also where you're going to be able to get lots of special combos, and those combos we're going to be talking about as we move into our other support cards. We are playing a single copy of Gallantmon Crimson mode. This card combos very well with our Chaos Gallantmon since it is able to digivolve onto that body, which of course will not have sources. So after we've benefited from all of our on deletions, including our potential Black Growlmon, we also have the option of digivolving onto our Chaos Gallantmon into Crimson mode for the next turn, which of course will potentially allow us to end the game on the spot since we're also ideally going to be milling our opponent. We are going to be playing in our Tamer spots 4 copies of Tocado from EX2. This is definitely the more important of the Tocados that this deck is able to run. It is only 3 to play. On your turn, if a Digimon is deleted, you can suspend this Tamer to gain a memory. So this is going to be a great extender. It also has an effect where if one of your Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon with Gallantmon or Growlmon in its name, that Digimon gains Blitz. Basically just meaning you're able to attack even if you're passing memory to the opponent's turn. So very, very good, especially when we do have such an expensive Digivolution in Megidramon, being able to Digivolve for 5, but not necessarily pass your opponent all of that memory. Ideally, you'll be able to gain some of it back. We're also playing 2 copies of Tocado from BT12. We are mostly playing this Tocado just for the name, as well as being a memory setter. So this Tocado is, again, a memory setter. It's 4 to play. Set your memory to 3 at the start of your turn if you are not there already. It does have an effect to warp Digivolve a Guilmon up into a Gallantmon, but since we are not playing any regular Gallantmon, we don't really need to worry about that. It's just here because it is a Tocado name, which is able to be benefited from our Megidramons, our Guilmons, and our War Growlmons that are going to be specifically caring about the Tocado name and make sure that we are not getting memory choked. Our last Tamers we're playing, we are playing 3 copies of Analog Youth. Now, Analog Youth does see absolute maximum value in this particular list, since not only is it a 2 to play Tamer, super cheap, on play revealing the top 3 cards of your deck, you can add a Digimon among them to your hand and trash the rest, so it does help to load up our trash while also smoothing out our consistency, but we're also going to be able to trigger the all turns effect pretty often as well. When one of your level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution cards is deleted, by suspending this Tamer, you can gain a memory and then hatch a Digi-Egg to an empty space. So since we're going to be doing this probably at the end of our turn, we'll be deleting our Megidramons with our Chaos Gallantmons. We'll then be able to use Analog Youth to be able to potentially pass some more memory back, sometimes even maybe saving the turn and being able to do more actions. If we are able to at least pass back to 0 again, it gives us the option of hatching an egg and getting to immediately put a new attacker in our raising area for the following turn. So very, very powerful play there. Analog Youth is definitely one of the linchpins for this deck. It is phenomenal supporting this new strategy. And the last card that's really going to help be supporting this strategy is 2 copies of Win Rate 60%. Now, this is an option card I know people have kind of played little copies of here and there as the meta has shifted and different decks have come and gone. It's a very interesting card. It's 2 to play. As long as you have a Tamer in play, you can use it without meeting its color requirements, so any of our Tocados will do. Basically, the effect works where the next time one of your Digimon would Digivolve this turn, you may trash a Digimon card in your hand of the same color as the Digivolving Digimon to reduce the memory cost by 4. It also has a security effect, add it to your hand, so it won't be completely dead if your opponent does check this in security. So the real benefit of using Win Rate 60% is when we are going to be drawing our Chaos Gallantmons. So the Chaos Gallants we very much want to be seeing in our trash. We don't necessarily want those in our hand. Digivolving up into them is not the worst thing in the entire world, but it's definitely not ideal. What we want to be doing is Digivolving into Megidramon and then using our trash effect for Chaos Gallantmon at the end of the turn. Should we wind up with any of our Chaos Gallants in hand, Win Rate 60% will not only let us drop them into our trash, where they can then use their effects, but they will also make sure that when we are Digivolving into our next stage, ideally again Megidramon, we are able to do so for much cheaper. Now, Megidramon is 5 to Digivolve once again, which is very costly, but it will reduce that cost down to 1. It won't reduce it completely, but ultimately it allows us to Digivolve into Megidramon for a cost of 3. So as long as we have one of our ultimates hiding somewhere and able to Digivolve, and we have a memory setter in play, we can pay this for 2, and then Digivolve into this for 1, netting us a 3-cost Digivolution, basically giving us the opportunity to do even more with our turn. So this deck is proving to be incredibly fun. I'm seeing a lot of people experimenting with lists just like this. If you guys are looking for something spicy and new to try at your locals, this is definitely a brand new take on the Gallantmon archetype. It keeps the flavor of deleting your opponent's Digimon while doing it from a new, unique way with lots of milling themes. It is very, very fun. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I highly recommend giving it a try. With that, I am an avid herpetologist. Thank you all once again for joining me for another deck profile. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you all next time.